It is by riding a bicycle that you remember the contours of a country best, since you have to sweat up the hills and can coast down them. Thus, you remember them as they actually are, while in a motor car, only a high hill impresses you, and you have no such accurate remembrance of a country you have driven through as you gain by riding a bicycle. Ernest Hemingway. The Klamath Mountains of Northern California are a uniquely diverse segment of one of the most diverse regions on the planet. They were lifted up when the ancient Farallon Plate slipped away under what is now Northern California, and were subsequently carved into their modern shape by the primeval rivers that still lie across them. The Mad River, the Eel, the Salmon, the Klamath, the Trinity, and others. The cultures, forests, and creatures that inhabit this area are like nowhere else on Earth. People come from all over the country and beyond to cycle along the famous Pacific Coast Highway, but there's more to this region than you can see from the shore. My brother and I planned a route that cuts through almost every stratum of this incredible region. 8 days, 2 bicycles, 450 kilometers. Come ride along with us. So we're a little ways into our tour so far. We're out here on the Humboldt coast of California, which is an awfully nice place to ride, other than the quality of the roads. We've got Wes's bike here, loaded up pretty good. Triangle frame bag, all of his sleeping gear on the back, and then here's my monstrosity. Everything's kitted out. I'm a little bit concerned. I want to pump up my back tire because the roads are really rough and I'm worried about getting a pinch flat. California, which is quite proudly the home of the mashed potato cone. About to try one of those. Sounds tasty. And I thought I'd take the time to show you a little bit about the power system that I've got going on the bike here. I've got this, it's a 50-watt flexible solar panel. These flexible solar panels are a lot lighter than the rigid ones because the cells are just a little bit flexible, and so they don't need a really rigid backing of glass or aluminum or anything like that to hold them in place. That said, they're not exactly the sturdiest. They are a little more prone to damage. I've had one of these fail on me, so in order to mitigate that, I mounted it to an angle aluminum frame under here that's riveted together and then bolted to the panel at the corners. Even with that, with one of these, you get about twice as much energy per unit of weight as you do with a rigid solar panel. That primarily goes into this lithium-ion battery. This panel puts out optimal power at about 18 volts, and this happens to be about an 18-volt battery. You can actually get more overall watts at 18 volts than you can at, say, 12 or something. So if you just plugged it into a 12-volt battery, you would be getting less energy out of the panel than if you plug it into a battery with higher voltage. And the maximum amount of watts is what you want, because then you can do whatever you want with it. So I've replaced the big stiff leads that come off of this panel with one thinner lead. It's got 2 wires sheathed in a paracord mantle coming out of one of the holes on the little junction box. This is something that I invented myself and 3D printed. It's a targeting reticle. And the way that it works is that these little arches cast a shadow on the underside. And when the shadow lines up with those little crosshairs on there, that's when you have the sunlight at the perfect angle. So when I park, I can set this up to get at the most direct angle to the sunlight, and that gives us the most power. It runs into the battery, and then from there comes out on this cord, which I can detach when I want to unhook the trailer. Runs up the seat stay through a little junction, and that junction takes the power up here to my phone's USB power supply. You can see we're running at about 19.9 volts right now, and that puts out good USB. It also comes down here. This is an 8.4 volt regulator, and that goes down to my headlight, which runs at 8.4 volts. That 8.4 volt will also charge the batteries for this camera and the Baofeng walkie-talkie batteries. It also splits off back to this cord, which comes up into my power bag. The power bag has pretty much all of my camera equipment for this trip. So far we've been getting plenty of juice, not having to worry about running out of power on this trip, I don't think. Here's the mashed potato and gravy cone. We'll see what that's like. By far the largest animal in this region is the elk, or wapiti, the second largest species of deer on Earth after the moose. Males can grow as large as 500 kilograms, over 1,000 pounds, and stand as tall as 170 centimeters or 5.5 feet at the shoulder. Each antler can be 1.2 meters or 4 feet in length, and during mating season, from late August to mid-October, the males can be quite aggressive. Just to be clear, late August is exactly when we were riding through their territory. So today was pretty productive. My legs got sore and cramped up a couple of times, but nothing too bad. And hopefully I'll be able to get them strengthened up a bit before we hit that really crazy hill a couple of days from now. Hopefully some ibuprofen and plenty of water and a good meal means that my legs won't be killing me in the morning, but we'll find out. Stellar's Jays, I think. So it's morning here in Redwoods National Park. My legs are kind of sore, but at the same time they feel pretty good. Like this morning when I woke up, they just felt awesome. Like more of like an endorphin thing than really sore. I slept well. I didn't have any leg cramps in the night, which is something that I was worried about. And this morning I think we're going to have some protein-enriched oatmeal for breakfast. I don't know what kind of hills we're looking at between here and Crescent City. Hopefully not too much. So, coastal Northern California is pretty overcast. The sky is kind of dark, but we finally got a little bit of sun. And so I've got the trailer set up here. You can see the little targeting reticle, the shadow, is right where it's supposed to be. The X's line up. And as a result, we're pushing almost 30 watts into the battery right now. So that's really excellent. All right, we're all loaded up. Gonna try and push for Crescent City today. It's been a very nice stay here. The campground in Redwoods National Park, we got showers. One of us got a warm shower. The other person didn't realize that warm water was an option and just took a cold shower. But any shower is better than none. And I think we've got a bit of climbing ahead of us today. We met some folks coming the other direction who said that the climb out of Klamath is a little bit intense, but it'll be exciting to see exactly what that looks like. Just before Christmas of 1964, the Klamath, Eel, Smith, Trinity, Salmon, and Mad Rivers experienced the worst flooding ever recorded in their watersheds. 16 state highway bridges were destroyed, and many of the communities in Humboldt and Del Norte counties were cut off or completely annihilated. The Klamath River disgorged more than 6 Olympic swimming pools worth of water every second, raising the water level high enough to submerge the town under 5 meters or 15 feet of water. In the intervening 50 years since the flood, the town still has not really recovered. Log Cabin Diner. I figure you're at these picnic tables, right? So we're up here in the city of Klamath, by the mouth of the Klamath River, and it's been a little bit sprinkly all day today, but we pretty much just got shut down by rain. And so we're here at this park, which I think is sort of owned and set up by the Yurok people, who are the natives up here. And we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. I think we're going to take a bus to Klamath City, or sorry, Crescent City tonight. That gets us over a really large climb that would be pretty lame. Gives our legs a little bit more time to recuperate after the strenuousness of yesterday, you know. Hopefully they'll build a little strength, so I'm not sad about the fact that we might not get get that whole climb, and we'll see how that goes. But it's a little bit frustrating. So, after getting kind of rained out in Klamath today, we caught a bus up to Crescent City. One of the really nice things about my new bike, my new Recumbent, is that unlike my previous one, my trike, the two-wheeled Recumbent, can go on most buses. So we didn't lose too much ground. Still didn't make 40 miles today, even with the bus ride, but there was some construction work that made the section of road really treacherous. So in retrospect, it's probably a good thing that we didn't ride up there. Even if it had been dry, it would have been pretty gnarly, and it cut an awfully large hill out of our route. So tonight we rented a motel room, which kind of feels like cheating, but it was cheap, and it's really nice to be able to get a warm shower. I'm walking over to the grocery store, get this done tonight, so that in the morning we'll just be able to get a move on. dokie.
I don't know about the quick links, but the pin is.
Oh, you got a pin. Okay.
Yeah. I probably should know about the quick links, especially now that we're using. I think it's my last pin.
There we go.
I wonder when I'm finally gonna not cop out on fixing my chain on the side of the hill.
There we go. Good flexi link. Everything's good. Right in there. Or in there, whichever you like. So
There, so I don't think that I have one.
let's test and then we'll adjust the derailleur. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be really nice to adjust the derailleur too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my thinking. Hello, little banana slug friend. Come back out. Pomegranate. How about you?
Yes.
Mango? Orange, okay. Solid choice. Good. I felt like I wanted to try something a little more exotic.
Yeah, I just saw that orange and I was like, yeah, that's it for me.
That's nice and sweet.
She does that all the time.
So, we didn't make it quite as far as we'd hoped today. We'd hoped to cross into Oregon, and that pretty much just didn't happen. We got a late start this morning, had some errands to run in town, and just didn't make the same mileage we were hoping to. But if we're lucky, tomorrow we'll do better. We're not far from the border, and we've got some beastly climbs, but hopefully also some really good descents. So, if we're lucky, those will cancel out. Had a good dinner tonight. There's a little lodge across the street from where we're camping, and so we went there Got some nice high protein dinner. Thinking about getting breakfast there too, but we want to get out of here pretty quick. So instead we'll probably just make oatmeal and mosey. Good night. We are heading towards O'Brien, and the wind is just ridiculous. It's no fun when you're going down a steep hill and getting pushed backwards real hard. Having to pedal to make progress down a steep hill is rough. And I got so much cross-sectional area on mine. The wind's wanting to push me off into the gorge, so for these windy parts, I'm definitely going to have to get off and walk, but hopefully we'll get into the lee of the hill before too long here. Seems like the winds are just being channeled up this gorge. I hate to think what it's like up on top. Got some pretty interesting decor. Nothing really beats the fly back there on the bathrooms. That's quite something. And we got a lot of climbing in front of us. Day's only half done, but we got 12 miles, the hardest climb of the entire trip, and I don't think my legs are ready for it. We'll see. Came past here and I could smell these freaking blackberries. So we stopped in this absolutely gorgeous little glen to filter some water, fill up our bottles as we're getting the final climb. Unfortunately, that is a coffee cup full of drug needles.
We don't know that they're drug needles.
Yeah, maybe somebody just was like shooting up insulin out here managing their diabetes and didn't take their sharps with them. There's plenty of garbage over there. That down there is just a full-on car seat. So, like on the one hand, I'd like to pick up some of this garbage and take it with us, but on the other hand, I don't think we'd really be making much of a dent. The climb was, as anticipated, extremely brutal. The later the day got, the more worrisome our situation became. We'd made it high enough on the ridge that water was scarce, but there seemed less and less of a possibility that we'd make it over the top to the other side by nightfall. Heavily laden as I was, I had to get off and walk, and even then I was stopping frequently to rest. As hope waned, I finally managed to flag down a truck, and we hitchhiked to the crest, from whence we were able to ride down. I knew there was a campground somewhere up ahead, but how far it was hard to say. The last 5 miles of the day were all downhill, but in gathering darkness and with a destination that was uncertain at best. It's fully abandoned. Like, I don't think anybody's been here in years, so that's kind of creepy. This is potentially some kind of found footage, because yeah, it's a little bit creepy coming into this campground at full dark, where everything's just, oh, I mean, take a look. We got the picnic tables all rotted out. Got these weird plants which look highly unnatural, all growing up in the campground. There's empty fire pits. Yeah. Over here, this is kind of crazy. Never seen one of these before. It's like an oven or a hearth. You put your fire, I guess, inside the box. Smoke comes out the chimney, and you can cook on top. U.S. Forest Service is all cracked and stuff, but yeah, we've got the place fully to ourselves. Wes is off getting water, and in the meantime, I'm gonna start on getting water warm for dinner. But this is it's a nice place, and I don't expect anybody's going to be disturbing us anytime soon, so we might take some showers in the morning with my camp shower, hang out. Wes will do some fishing. We got nothing but downhill ahead of us, pretty much out to the Hooper Reservation, so at this point the hardest stuff is behind us. Tonight we are having that traditional delicious dish, instant mashed potatoes with a bunch of salmon thrown in for protein. So the campground is way less creepy by daylight. Last night was pretty good. I slept in my hammock because the ground is covered in ants, really, really big ants. We hung the bear bag from the bridge, which is nice because None of these trees have really optimal branches for keeping critters off, but there's a bridge over the river, and we just hung the bag from that. And this morning, we're getting breakfast, and then we're going to do a shower. Hung up my tarp as a shower curtain, and got a hanger point for that. The shower is supposed to heat up by sunlight, but we got plenty of stove fuel, and we can refill at any gas station. So, if I heat up 3 liters of 212 degree Fahrenheit water, and then add that to 6 liters of 50 degree Fahrenheit water, that should make 9 liters of 120 degree Fahrenheit water, which is the perfect temperature for a shower. And we have a 1.5 liter pot, so just 2 batches of that. It should be great. We got a little shower curtain. Yeah, it's nice having a campground all to yourself. Some delicious pizza here in Happy Camp, and it's the last restaurant for about 90 miles, so from here to Willow Creek it's going to be ramen and mashed potatoes and oatmeal, pretty much. Set up the solar panel to charge while we were at it. Fully charged 1 Mavic battery, and made some good progress on my main battery, so that's really good. We also have this huge dog food bag full of trash that we picked up at the campground last night, so we gotta find a garbage can to get rid of that. But it's a little after 1 p.m. and we have the hardest part of the ride well and truly behind us, except for the fact that it is ridiculously hot. Oh well. Made it to this campsite. What's this one called? Dillon Creek Campground, I think. Yesterday afternoon, evening. Got here around 5. And it's nice. This one's not even abandoned, technically. Although, we're pretty much the only ones here. It's kind of crazy. It's a Sunday morning, but there's almost nobody else around. It's just us and one other couple that we've seen. The weather's great, but this morning we're going to try and push south, probably to or even past Psalms Bar in Orleans. I should say it's just us and the mosquitoes. So we've made it here to Orleans, I don't know. Probably not Orleans, probably Orleans. And we're here at the store. They've got this really cool mural. It says "Undam the Klamath," and it's talking about among other things, the fact that because of the slow-moving water through the reservoirs, the water warms up a bit. And that leads to blooms of blue-green algae, which are toxic. So, like, talking to some people up in Happy Camp, they said that we shouldn't even go swimming in the water, shouldn't touch the water, shouldn't drink the water, even if you've run it through a filter, because there's toxins produced by these blue-green algae that you have to, if you're going to go in the water, you have to shower off afterwards, which is obviously not an option for us. You know, we were hoping to just kind of rinse off in the river, nice and cool, but the reservoir upstream breeds this algae that flows down, so you have to wait for smaller tributaries like the Dillon Creek that we stayed at last night, or the Salmon River, Trinity. I don't know about the Mad River, but the Klamath this time of year is just no good for swimming. Hello there, little friend. Never seen one of these in the wild before. I was thinking, sure, I'm glad that I'm sleeping up off the ground in my hammock. But on the other hand, this guy's in a tree. Good morning. We're here at Alder Creek Camp. Had a pretty good evening. Nice little campground. Virtually no improvements, but consequently it's free. No fee to stay here, which is kind of neat. Apparently Mr. Pro Angler went off this morning and caught some fish. He just called me on the radio and said that we're having fresh fish for lunch, so I'm pretty excited about that. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna take the fins off first.
That's how the best meals start.
Taking the fins off?
No.
Oh, not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah. We're gonna toss these guys in the pan. Kind of want to poach them, but we might do sort of a pseudo poach by adding a little bit of water and then putting the lid on. Add a little bit of water in there. Put the lid on. So we've got salt, pepper, and tarragon on these. And we're also making some lemon juice out of a powdered concentrate. Your lemon juice. Bon appetit. So we just finished our climb out of the Hooper Reservation, the ante-penultimate climb of the trip, pretty much. So now we're here in Willow Creek, which has some interesting locals. We had an awesome burger in Hoopa. The locals are incredibly friendly. Everybody was beeping their horns at us coming out, and I think they were mostly beeping out of solidarity as opposed to out of anger. Though it can be kind of hard to tell sometimes. We're just killing some time waiting for that massive amount of food to wear off before we do yet another climb. We got one big one and one medium one tomorrow. And that'll put us back in Arcata. Pick up the car and drive home. That's the one back in Redwoods National Park.
Yep, California State Parks for the win. We got a hot shower, other bike tourists.
One of us got a hot shower.
Bike campgrounds, even though the campground was full. That was sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, one of us got a lukewarm shower. Huh?
Not even that, tepid. Yeah, it was barely not cold.
That's no good. Number 2 would be, God, what did I say before was number 2?
Dillon Creek, I think?
Dillon Creek. Oh yeah, that place was great. Running water, bathrooms, and hell of a creek. A lot of mosquitoes, but they all had that.
And it was basically like there was pretty much nobody else there.
Yeah, just about. There were only, I think, 2 other occupied campsites.
Uh-huh.
All cool people.
Yeah.
That pool in the creek, pretty fishable, highly swimmable.
Yes.
Grade A.
Yep.
So number 3 would be West Branch, just because it was abandoned and really kind of creepy and cool.
Uh-huh.
And isolated. Made it easy to hang the shower bag.
And the bear bag, just toss it off a bridge.
Yeah, that was cool, hanging the bear bag over the bridge. Creek was a little too steep to fish or really swim in.
Uh-huh.
Points against it there. Otherwise, that one was pretty cool.
While neither of our day 8 climbs were as large as day 4, the weather was oppressively hot, and I found myself mostly walking yet again. That Hemingway quote about sweating up hills was running on a loop through my mind. Based on how much water I drank and how little I peed, it seems reasonable to estimate that I sweated out over 7 liters of water. Let's take a moment to talk about nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is a colorless gas with a huge variety of uses. It's soluble in fat, and when emerging from a solution in heavy cream, instantly renders it into whipped cream. Hiking along the road between Willow Creek and Arcata, you couldn't go 5 paces without encountering a depleted canister of nitrous sold for that purpose. This implies that either the roads are clogged with professional chefs making dairy-based desserts while driving, or an absolutely terrifying number of drivers are huffing the gas for its euphoric effects, again, while driving. I can only desperately hope it's the former, because seriously, while the number of beer cans and liquor bottles along the sides of the roads in this area is scary, it's nothing compared to the number of little metal cylinders. If I can make a suggestion to the drivers of Humboldt County, I'm sure dental-grade anesthetics are great for spicing up a boring commute, but if you want to get a real high, may I suggest slogging 100 pounds of bicycle gear up a mountain all morning, then reaching the top and laying eyes on a sign that says, 7% grade, 7 miles. So today's been a heck of a day. We're here at the Mad River Brewing Company. Just had a delicious hamburger and some sweet potato fries. And we've got about 13 miles to go before we're back where we started. And it looks like we're gonna finish the tour under our own power, which is gonna be a first for either of us. Ran into some folks up on the up on one of those hills that needed a hand. I gave them some Gorilla Tape to try and patch one of their radiator hoses, which will hopefully get them at least as far as Willow Creek. But it's kind of funny, somebody on a bicycle having to stop and help a stranded motorist. But this has been a heck of a tour. Freaking awesome. There's a phenomenon I've noticed with myself when working out, that when the temperatures drop, it does more for my muscles than a massage and a good night's sleep. As we plunged from the hot, dry mountains into the marine layer of the coast, returning at last to where we started, it was like the fatigue of more than a week's hard riding evaporated, and we were starting fresh at the beginning of the adventure once more. power, except for the bus and the one thing with the hitchhiking.